If you looked at me, you wouldn't see a person. You'd see a cardigan, specifically a wool blend cardigan in a shade of taupe that fashion magazines probably call executive beige or boardroom invisible. I am 47 years old. I drive a Toyota Camry that has never received a parking ticket. I eat a tuna salad on rye at exactly 12:15 p.m. every single day. To the people at Sterling Meridian Capital, I am Patricia from Risk Management. I am the roadblock. I am the woman who sends passive-aggressive emails about compliance documentation and audit trail requirements. I am the gray rock of the trading floor, a term usually reserved for dealing with narcissists. But in my case, it's a professional survival strategy. My boss, Vincent, thinks I'm a relic. Vincent is the Senior Vice President of Trading Operations, a title that implies he operates trades. The only thing Vincent operates is his ego and a Bloomberg terminal that he uses mostly to check sports scores. He's one of those guys who wears a Hermes tie with rolled-up sleeves to look like a working man, but screams at analysts if his morning briefing isn't perfectly formatted. He treats the trading floor like his personal casino, and I'm the compliance lady he can't wait to replace with an automated system. Patricia, did you really need to flag the offshore transfer as a potential regulatory issue? Vincent asked me this morning, leaning against my cubicle wall. He smelled like expensive scotch from last night and arrogance from this morning. It's a vibe killer. We're trying to maximize alpha, not drown it in red tape. The transfer structure bypasses OFAC screening protocols. Vincent, I said, not looking up from my monitor. My voice was flat, monotone. I practiced this voice in the mirror. It's the voice of a woman who has given up on being heard. You're such a riot. Patty, he snorted, pushing off my wall and leaving a scuff on the fabric partition. A real riot. Don't forget the all hands at 2. Try to look interested. I'm presenting the new transparency initiative. It's going to revolutionize how we communicate. He walked away, backslapping a junior trader named Bradley, who looks like he was manufactured by a prep school assembly line. I waited until Vincent was exactly 20 feet away before I typed a 14-digit code into a terminal that looked like a standard Reuters interface, but was actually a masked portal for the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network. See, Vincent thinks Sterling Meridian Capital is a mid-tier investment bank. He thinks we manage portfolios for pension funds and high-net-worth individuals, and we do. About 70% of our assets under management are legitimate, boring institutional investments, municipal bonds, index funds, conservative fixed income products. It's the perfect cover. The other 30%, that's my department. I don't manage municipal bond portfolios. I monitor the covert financial channels used by federal intelligence agencies. I track the black budget fund flows that don't appear on any balance sheet. I handle transactions that don't have names, just alphanumeric designations that would make a Treasury Department official lose sleep. When the government needs to move money through hostile financial systems, they don't do it through obvious channels. They do it through respectable investment banks, through boring mid-tier firms with mahogany conference rooms and partners who golf, through places like Sterling Meridian. I am not a risk management analyst. I am a Class 3 Treasury liaison with a clearance level that would allow me to freeze Vincent's personal accounts if he tried to access the terminal currently open on my workstation. But I can't tell them that. To them. I'm just boring Patricia, the lady who sends emails about documentation requirements, the obstacle to their quarterly bonus targets. It's a lonely life, honestly. You sit there monitoring the financial arteries of covert operations while people discuss their Hamptons rentals over the partition walls. Sometimes I just want to scream. I'm not auditing expense reports. I'm tracking intelligence agency slush funds. You absolute walnuts. But I don't. I just listen to audiobooks on my earbuds to keep from losing my mind. Speaking of which, since we're getting into the classified stuff here, take a second to hit that subscribe button and thumbs up. It helps the algorithm know you like hearing about Wall Street idiots almost causing international financial incidents. And frankly, it makes me feel less like I'm shouting into the void. Thanks. Anyway, back to the vibe killer. A red folder sits in the bottom drawer of my desk. It's not actually red. That would be too obvious. It's a burgundy binder labeled Basel III Implementation Guidelines, 2012 to 2018. No one in the history of investment banking has ever voluntarily opened a binder with that title. It is the perfect camouflage. Inside that binder are the hard copy verification codes for the shadow accounts. These are the financial pathways that don't exist on any official ledger. They are the channels our specialized transfers take when they need to move through sanctioned territories without triggering alerts. Today, the binder contained the authorization manifest for Operation Blackwater. On the surface, Operation Blackwater looked like a routine currency swap with a European correspondent bank. In reality, it was a coordinated transfer of intelligence funds to asset networks in 3 hostile nations. The protocols are strict. The digital file is encrypted with banking-grade security, plus a secondary government layer. My screen has a polarizing filter so you can't read it from an angle. And most importantly, never under any circumstances is this data to be displayed on a non-secure network. I was reviewing the Blackwater transfer routes, double-checking the correspondent bank codes because sanctioned jurisdictions have 12 more compliance layers than standard transfers. When Vincent breezed by again. "Hey, Patty," he said, popping his head over the partition. "I need your laptop." I froze. My hand hovered over the panic key. A small unmarked button disguised as the scroll lock key. "Excuse me. My ThinkPad is doing that frozen screen thing," Vincent said, rolling his eyes. "And its support is swamped until Friday. I need to present the quarterly performance to the all hands. Just let me borrow yours. I'll connect it to the projector in the boardroom. Quick and easy." "No," I said. It was the firmest I'd spoken in 5 years. Vincent laughed. It was a cold, hollow sound. "Excuse me, no. I'm the SVP, Patricia. I'm not asking. We're a team. One firm. One vision. Remember, don't be so territorial. Just bring it to the boardroom. Vincent, my machine contains sensitive risk assessment data that is not formatted for public presentation," I said, trying to use the finance. Speak he understood. "It's not compatible with the display system. You and your sensitive data," he mocked, making air quotes. "What is it, social security numbers of the janitors? I don't care. I just need Excel and PowerPoint." "Bring it now." He walked away before I could object further. I sat there for a moment, my heart hammering against my ribs. This was a violation, a catastrophic one. If I gave him the laptop, I was breaking protocol. If I didn't, he would fire me, or worse, cause a scene that would draw attention to my department, which is the one thing the agency told me never to do. Stay invisible. "Patricia, we need the firm to appear completely normal." I looked at the red folder in my drawer. I looked at the encrypted interface on my screen. And then a dark, cold thought entered my mind. Vincent wanted transparency. He wanted to show the firm what we really do. He wanted to mock my boring work in front of the entire staff to get a cheap laugh. Fine. I closed the secure window, but I didn't log out. I left the biometric authentication engaged. I minimized the window to the taskbar where it sat like a loaded weapon. I picked up the laptop. It felt heavy, like I was carrying a briefcase full of dynamite. One firm, one vision. I whispered to the empty cubicle. I smoothed down my taupe cardigan, checked my reflection in the dark monitor to make sure my face was sufficiently blank, and walked toward the boardroom. I wasn't just bringing a computer. I was bringing the end of Vincent's career and possibly the end of his freedom. He wanted a show. I was about to give him a federal incident. The boardroom smelled like stale coffee and ambition. It was one of those wood-paneled chambers with floor-to-ceiling windows that investment banks love because they symbolize success, but really just mean everyone can see you getting humiliated against a backdrop of the Manhattan skyline. The entire staff was there, about 40 people. There was the trading desk, loud and jittery on caffeine and testosterone. The research department looking exhausted from the latest earnings season. The operations team looking like they'd rather be literally anywhere else. And then there was Vincent. He was standing at the head of the mahogany table, pacing like he was giving a shareholder presentation. He had his jacket off, his sleeves rolled up. He was ready to inspire us. "All right, people, settle down," Vincent boomed, clapping his hands. "We've got a lot to cover. Q3 was volatile, but Q4 is going to be historic." I sat in the back corner, the spot usually reserved for junior analysts and broken presentation clickers. I had my laptop clutched to my chest. Patricia Vincent pointed at me with a laser pointer. The red dot danced on my taupe wool like a targeting laser. "Pass the hardware. I need to drive this ship." I stood up slowly. The room went quiet. I could feel the eyes on me, pitying, annoyed, indifferent. There goes Patricia, slowing things down again. I walked to the front of the room and placed the laptop on the podium. I plugged in the HDMI cable. The screen flickered, then mirrored onto the massive 85-inch display behind Vincent. "Okay," I said, my voice barely a whisper. "Vincent, please be careful. There are applications running that contain—" Yeah, relax, Snowden." Vincent interrupted, physically waving me away with his hand. "I'm just opening a spreadsheet. Go sit down. You're blocking the momentum." A ripple of laughter went through the room. The traders chuckled. Classic Vincent, roasting the compliance lady. I walked back toward my seat, but I didn't sit. I leaned against the back wall, my hand slipping into my pocket, fingers wrapping around my secure device. It's a thick, ruggedized phone that looks like a BlackBerry from 2007, but connects directly to a Treasury Department emergency network. Vincent fumbled with the trackpad. "Okay, let's see. Where is my presentation? Here we go." He opened his slides. It was standard Wall Street theater. Bar graphs that meant nothing. Pie charts about asset allocation. He droned on for 15 minutes about capturing market inefficiencies and generating sustainable alpha. "Now," Vincent said, a mischievous glint in his eye, "I want to talk about transparency. We have some bottlenecks in the system, some bureaucratic overhead that's slowing our execution." He minimized his PowerPoint. My desktop was revealed. It was clean, just a dark background with the firm logo. But on the taskbar, blinking softly, was the minimized window for the FinCEN Secure Operations portal. "You know," Vincent said, looking at the screen. "Patricia is always complaining about her heavy workload. She says she's drowning in compliance requirements. Let's take a look, shall we? Let's see what risk management is actually doing all day." My stomach dropped. He was going to open my files. He was going to breach containment to score points with the trading desk. "Vincent, don't—" I said it louder than I intended. "Oh, calm down," Vincent sneered. "What are you hiding solitaire online shopping?" He moved the cursor. He hovered over the minimized tab labeled Secure Node Sigma 7. "Whoa," Vincent laughed. "Look at this name. Secure Node Sigma sounds very dramatic. Let's see what's inside." "Vincent, that is a federal." He clicked. The window maximized. It wasn't a spreadsheet. It was a high-resolution, real-time transaction monitoring interface showing fund flows across 12 international jurisdictions. Overlaying the map were bright red vector lines indicating active transfer pathways. In the center of the screen, a massive dialog box popped up in stark red letters. Classified Financial Manifest Operation. Blackwater Target. Hostile State. Banking Infrastructure Payload Covert Asset Funding Package. Delta 9. Current Status. Active Transfer Clearance. TS as Orcon/No Foreign. The room went silent. Vincent blinked. He squinted at the screen. "What the hell is this? Is this a video game? Are you playing some banking simulator at work?" "Patricia." He didn't understand. He was looking at the live operational status of a classified intelligence funding operation, and he thought it was a game. Then he did the unthinkable. "Look at this," Vincent scoffed, pointing at the screen. "It says Hostile State Banking Infrastructure. Covert asset funding. Jesus. Patricia. How old are you role-playing games? And look at this interface. He zoomed in. He zoomed in on the transaction map, on the giant screen. The exact routing of the transfer pathway was visible. SWIFT codes, correspondent bank identifiers, account numbers in jurisdictions that were definitely on sanctions lists. It looks like you're moving money to... Vincent laughed, turning to the audience. She's playing spy games on company time. Folks, this is where your bonus pool is going. He was broadcasting the operational details of an active intelligence funding operation to a room full of 40 uncleared finance professionals, half of whom probably had their phones recording for their group chats. I glanced at the clock on the wall. 2:17:45 p.m. The breach was total. The data was exposed. The classified operation was visible to anyone who could read a SWIFT code. Something inside me snapped. Not a hot snap, like a rubber band breaking. A cold snap, like a vault door sealing shut. I looked at Vincent, grinning like a wolf in a bespoke suit. I looked at my coworkers, confused but amused. You want to see what I do? Vincent, I thought. You want to play the game I didn't rush forward to close the laptop. That would imply I could fix this. This wasn't fixable. This was a level 3 containment failure. I took the secure device out of my pocket. I didn't look at the screen. I knew the sequence by muscle memory. Unlock biometric. App breach. Confirm. A tiny vibration buzzed against my palm. One short pulse. Receipt acknowledged. I looked at Vincent. It's not a game. Vincent, I said. My voice was eerily calm. Sure. Vincent waved his hand, turning back to the screen to mock the formatting of the classified warning. He had no idea. He thought he was winning the room. He didn't know I had just sealed the cage, and he was trapped inside with something far worse than a bear. I sat down. I crossed my legs. I folded my hands over the device in my lap. There is a specific kind of silence that happens on a trading floor right before a market crash. The screen stopped scrolling. The phones stopped ringing. In the boardroom of Sterling Meridian Capital, the phones were still ringing. Specifically, Bradley was asking Vincent if the hostile state funding was for the war on low returns. They laughed, fist bumped. I watched the second hand on the antique clock tick. 2:18:30. The protocol for Level 3 breach is automated. It's designed to contain information leaks faster than human error can spread them. It doesn't rely on building security. It relies on a specialized response unit authorized by the Department of the Treasury, colloquially known as the auditors. Okay. Vincent wiped a tear of laughter from his eye. Seriously, though, Patricia, delete this game off the system. It's slowing down the machine. I'm trying to pull up the P&L report for the derivatives desk. He tried to close the window. The cursor didn't move. What? The Vincent jiggled the mouse. He tapped the trackpad. Frozen. Great. Thanks a lot, Patty. Your little spy game crashed the laptop. He hit Control-Alt-Delete. Nothing. It's not crashed. Vincent, I said softly. Well, it's not responding. He barked. Fix it. At 2:19 Sodero, the Wi-Fi icon on the boardroom display vanished. The Bloomberg terminals around the perimeter flickered and went dark. Hey, someone from the trading desk said, did the network just go down? My Reuters feed is frozen. Mine too, said Jennifer from research. I was just pulling earnings data. Vincent groaned. Unbelievable. This building, I swear, it is absolutely useless. I watched the lights on the Cisco switch mounted in the corner of the room. Usually. They blinked frantic green. Now they were solid amber. Phase 1. Digital blackout. All outgoing data was being severed to prevent the leak from hitting any external network. If anyone had taken a photo of that screen and tried to send it anywhere, that transmission was now dead in the water. My phone's not working either, Bradley said, tapping his iPhone screen. I have 0 bars. I had full signal a second ago. It's a dead zone. Vincent dismissed him. We're in a corner office with thick walls. Focus. People. Since Patricia's computer is a brick, I'm going to just talk through the numbers. He started talking about synergy again. I felt a second vibration in my hand. 2 pulses. Phase 2. Physical containment. Vincent, I said. He ignored me. So, if we look at the performance attribution for Q3. Vincent, I said, slightly louder. What? He snapped, turning to me. What is it now? Can't you see I'm trying to rescue this presentation? You might want to check the elevators, I said. Vincent stared at me like I was speaking Mandarin. The elevators. Why did you order lunch? Is that why you're interrupting me? Just check the lobby status on the security panel. Vincent, he huffed, threw his hands up, and marched over to the security panel mounted near the boardroom door. It was a small screen showing building status. He tapped it. The screen showed all elevators locked on the ground floor. Main entrance, security gates engaged. Stairwell access restricted. What the hell, Vincent muttered. He grabbed the boardroom door handle and pulled. It didn't move. He pulled harder. The door rattled slightly in the frame, but the mechanism held fast. The door is locked, Vincent said, turning to the room. Why is the door locked, Bradley? Help me. Bradley jumped up. I got it, boss. Bradley grabbed the handle. Pulled. Nothing. Did you lock it? Vincent glared at me. Did you lock us in? I don't have the access codes. Vincent, I said, the security system is centrally controlled. It's managed by building operations and certain federal oversight protocols. Well, call the front desk. Vincent shouted. Tell them to release the locks. I can't. I said, phones are down. Remember? A murmur of unease started to ripple through the room. The laughter was gone. The air felt suddenly thinner. Okay, this is ridiculous, Vincent said, his face turning pink. Is there a fire alarm? Just pull the fire alarm. That releases all locks. I wouldn't do that, I said. Why not? Because, I said, standing up and smoothing my skirt. We aren't having a fire drill, Vincent, and we aren't having a network outage. I walked over to the window. The boardroom looked out over Park Avenue. Look, I said, pointing down. Vincent and half the room rushed to the glass. Outside. The street was being cleared. NYPD cruisers were blocking traffic. Black SUVs with government plates were pulling up to the building entrance. Men in dark suits were establishing a perimeter. What is happening? Jennifer whispered, clutching her portfolio. Is it a terrorism threat? Panic flared in their eyes. Terrorism was the only context they had for this level of response. No. I said, it's not terrorism. I turned back to the room. I let my shoulders drop. I let the compliance Patricia mask slip off just a little. My posture straightened. My eyes went cold. It's a containment protocol, I said. Because someone unauthorized just accessed a top-secret Treasury Department financial operations manifest. I looked directly at Vincent. You wanted to see what I do. Vincent. You're seeing it. You just triggered a federal financial lockdown. For 3 seconds. Nobody moved. They just stared at me. It was as if the office fern had suddenly started reciting securities law. Federal lockdown. Vincent laughed, but it was a nervous, high-pitched sound. Okay, very funny. You're really committing to this bit. Patricia, what is this? A prank? Did you hire actors? Look at the screen. Vincent, I said, gesturing to the giant display behind him. He turned. The transaction map was gone. The operation manifest was gone. The screen was now entirely black except for a single pulsating logo in the center, the Department of the Treasury seal. And beneath it, a timer counting down from 42 measured. That's a screensaver, Vincent said, his voice wavering. That's just a graphic. Thunk. The overhead recessed lighting cut out. The room plunged into darkness for a heartbeat before the emergency red mood lighting flickered on. The hum of the HVAC system died, replaced by the deep pressurized hiss of the air handler's ceiling. Oh God, Jennifer started to hyperventilate. We're trapped. We're trapped in the dark. Everyone stay calm, Vincent shouted, trying to find his SVP voice in the red gloom. It's a power outage, that's all. The security system is just malfunctioning. It's broad daylight outside. Vincent, Bradley pointed out, his voice trembling. And the street is full of federal vehicles. Shut up, Bradley, Vincent snapped. He pulled out his cell phone, frantically tapping the screen. Why won't this thing connect? I need to call our general counsel. There's a localized signal jammer active, I said. I walked over to the head of the table. Vincent's spot. I sat on the edge of the mahogany. It blocks all cellular and data frequencies to prevent information from leaving the building. Nothing goes in or out until they clear the site. Who is, they asked Sarah, a young analyst who was hugging her document binder. People coming to investigate why Vincent projected a classified treasury operation onto a boardroom wall. I said. Vincent spun around, his face a mask of sweat and red light. Stop saying that. I didn't project a classified operation. I projected a quarterly review. You hacked it. You put that image there to sabotage me. He was spiraling. Denial. The first stage of grief for his career. Vincent. I said, my voice cutting through his panic like a scalpel. You took my laptop. You ignored my explicit warning. You bypassed the minimize window, and then you zoomed in on a classified interface. There are cameras in this room. The webcam on my laptop was active. They saw everything. Who saw Vincent screamed? Who is watching us, the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network? I said. The Treasury Department Office of Intelligence and Analysis, and probably the FBI Financial Crimes Unit by now. Vincent backed up until he hit the whiteboard. He looked like a cornered animal, but I'm the SVP. I have clearance. I run this floor. You run a trading operation for a mid-tier investment bank. I corrected him. You do not have clearance for Operation Blackwater. In fact, by forcing me to display that data, you've technically committed a violation of the International Emergency Economic Powers Act. The room gasped. IEEPA violation. Vincent squeaked. I love this country. I donate to veterans' charities. Intent doesn't matter with level 3 financial data, I said, reciting the protocols I'd memorized 14 years ago. Unauthorized disclosure is unauthorized disclosure. Negligence is not a defense, especially when it involves sanctioned jurisdictions. The timer on the screen ticked down. 3600. What happens when the timer hits 0? Sarah asked, tears streaming down her face. That's when the response team arrives, I said. They are currently ascending via the secured elevator. The timer is their processing time. Response team. Bradley whispered. Treasury agents. Something like that, I said. They're going to secure the floor. They will detain everyone for questioning. They will forensically image every device in this room, and then they will arrest the person responsible for the breach. 40 pairs of eyes turned to Vincent. Now wait a minute. Vincent held up his hands. This is her laptop. She brought it in. She set me up. You all saw it. She gave it to me willingly. We saw you demand it. Vincent, Bradley said quietly. She said no. Multiple times. You threatened her job. I was leading. Vincent yelled. That was executive leadership. It looked like coercion to me, said the quiet compliance officer from the back row. The alliance was fracturing. The pack was turning on the alpha. Listen to me, Vincent pleaded, sweating through his custom shirt. We have to fix this. Patricia, you can stop this. Call them off. Tell them it was a systems test. Tell them it was a training exercise. I looked at him. I looked at the man who had made my professional life a constant grind of condescension and dismissal for 5 years. The man who called my work boring. The man who mocked my attention to procedure. I can't call them off. Vincent, I said, I'm just the risk management analyst. Remember, I just processed the paperwork. Don't give me that. Vincent lunged toward me, grabbing my arm. You know exactly what's happening. Fix it or so help me God, I'll destroy your career. I looked at his hand on my cardigan, touching a federal financial liaison during a containment event. I said calmly, that's another charge. Assault on a treasury contractor. Vincent snatched his hand back as if I were radioactive. Treasury contractor, he whispered. I stood up. I smoothed the fabric where he'd grabbed me. Sit down, Vincent, I ordered. Not requested, ordered. And for the first time in the history of Sterling Meridian Capital, Vincent sat down. The red emergency light gave everyone a ghoulish, sickly cast, but it suited the mood perfectly. The illusion of the normal trading floor was dead. We were now in the belly of the beast. Okay, everyone, listen to me, I said, my voice projecting clearly without shouting. You have 35 minutes before the response team completes processing. If you want to get out of this without being detained overnight, you need to do exactly what I say. They nodded. Even Vincent nodded, staring at the mahogany, wringing his hands. Take out your badges, I said. Place them on the table in front of you. Take out your phones. Place them on the table. Do not attempt to delete anything. If you have a personal device, produce it now. If you have a trading terminal logged in, leave it. These people have forensic capabilities that can recover deleted data from a device in seconds. Do not make them work harder than necessary. The sound of plastic and metal clattering onto the mahogany table filled the room. Patricia Sarah asked, her voice trembling. What do we actually do here? I thought we were just an investment bank. I sighed. I looked at these people. They were annoying. Yes, but they were innocent. They were just people trying to make their mortgage payments. We are an investment bank, I said. Sterling Meridian is a dual-use front. The intelligence community needs legitimate financial institutions to move specialized funds. It's the needle in the haystack theory. If you want to hide a needle, you don't put it in a vault. You throw it in a haystack and move the whole thing. We're the haystack. Bradley's eyes went wide. That's why the 7th floor server room has a separate fiber line nobody can access. I thought it was for high-frequency trading. It's a direct uplink to the Treasury Department. I confirmed. Vincent lifted his head. He looked haggard. His executive confidence seemed to be evaporating through his pores. And you've known this whole time. You let me walk around like I own this floor. I didn't let you do anything. Vincent, I said, I did my job. My job is to manage the classified financial channels so you can play master of the universe. My job is to keep the dangerous money in the proper accounts. Today, you opened the wrong account. I just wanted to show my slides, Vincent whispered. I just wanted to present the quarterly numbers. You got your transparency, I said. The timer on the screen ticked down. 18 Hazuro. They came through the main entrance at exactly 2:42 p.m. 12 figures in dark suits, moving with the silent precision of an audit team from hell. They didn't announce themselves. They didn't need to. The boardroom door clicked open, the magnetic lock disengaging with a soft beep. A woman in a charcoal suit walked in first. She wasn't wearing tactical gear. She was wearing a Treasury Department badge. Special Agent Morrison, she said, showing her credentials. Financial Crimes Enforcement Network. Special Operations Division. Everyone remain seated. This is a federal financial security action. The room was silent. Even Vincent, for once in his career, had nothing to say. Special Agent Morrison walked directly to me. Director Hartwell, status report. Containment achieved at 2:19 p.m., I said, standing up. Breach initiated by Vincent Castellano, SVP of Trading Operations. Unauthorized access to Operation Blackwater Manifest. Full display on unsecured boardroom monitor. 40 uncleared witnesses. No confirmed data exfiltration. Signal jam engaged within 60 seconds. Morrison nodded. Excellent work. Director, we'll take it from here. Director Vincent croaked. Director. I looked at him. My official title is Risk Management Analyst, I said. My actual title is Deputy Director of Covert Financial Operations for FinCEN Northeast Region. I've held this position for 14 years. I've worked in this building for 11. You never bothered to ask what I actually do. Morrison gestured to her team. Take Mr. Castellano into custody. He'll be processed at the federal facility downtown. Everyone else, prepare for individual debriefing. 2 agents approached Vincent. He stood up, his legs shaking. Wait. This is a misunderstanding. I didn't know. I'm sorry. Patricia, please, tell them I didn't know. I looked at him. I looked at the man who had called my work a waste of resources, who had mocked my careful attention to compliance, who had demanded I hand over classified materials so he could show a PowerPoint presentation. You're right, Vincent, I said. You didn't know. That's the problem. You didn't know, and you didn't listen when I tried to warn you. That's not ignorance. That's hubris. And hubris is not a defense. They let him out. He didn't go quietly. He was shouting about wrongful arrest and his lawyers all the way to the elevator. When the doors closed, the silence rushed back. The emergency lighting switched off. The normal lights came back on. The HVAC hummed back to life. It was jarring, like walking out of a nightmare into a Tuesday afternoon. The response team left as efficiently as they came, taking Vincent's devices and the confiscated phones with them. They left one thing behind: a new secure laptop for me and a direct line to the Regional Oversight Committee. The office was quiet. No one went back to their desks. They all just stood in the boardroom, looking at the empty chair where Vincent used to sit. I walked over to the podium where Vincent had tried to shine. I looked at the HDMI cable dangling uselessly. My phone buzzed. A text message on the new secure device. Sender control. Message operation. Blackwater. Rerouted to backup channels. Asset integrity preserved. Outstanding containment. Director. I deleted the message. I walked back to my cubicle. It looked exactly the same. The beige walls. The sad ficus. But it felt different. It wasn't a cage anymore. It was a command post. I sat down in my chair. I opened the bottom drawer and pulled out the red folder. I needed to file the incident report. For years, I had tolerated this job. I tolerated the secrecy. I tolerated the disrespect. I tolerated being the invisible woman in the taupe cardigan. But today I realized something. Invisibility is a superpower. Vincent wanted to be seen. He wanted the glory, and it destroyed him. I was content to be the wallpaper, and because of that, I was the most powerful person on the floor. I logged into the system. The screen glowed blue. Welcome, Director Hartwell. I liked the sound of that. The next morning, the espresso machine was working. Not the break room Nespresso, the Italian import in Vincent's old corner office. I moved my stuff in there around 8:15 a.m. I didn't ask for permission. I just took the key card from building management, who looked at me with a mix of respect and fear, and opened the door. I sat in Vincent's Herman Miller chair. It was comfortable, even if it did smell faintly of his cologne and desperation. The door was open. I could see the trading floor. The office was quieter than usual. There was no bro culture shouting, no celebrating bad trades. People were working, actually working. Bradley walked by. He saw me. He stopped. Good morning, Patricia. Director Hartwell, he stammered. Good morning. Bradley, I said, sipping a perfectly pulled espresso. Do we have the risk assessment for the emerging markets desk? Yes, ma'am, he said, On your desk in 5 minutes. Make it 3. On it. He practically ran. I turned to my computer. I had a new notification, a new operation. Project Nighthawk. Payload classified fund transfer package. Target adversarial central banking system. Clearance. TS/ORCON. No foreign. I cracked my knuckles. Most people think investment banking is glamorous. They think it's just money and bonuses and corner offices. They think the financial world is held together by traders and deal makers. They're wrong. The financial world is held together by the people who make sure the sensitive money gets from point A to point B without anyone noticing. It's held together by the invisible people in taupe cardigans who know how to keep a secret. It's protected by the quiet professionals who read the compliance documents that nobody else bothers to read. Vincent thought this was a game. He thought he could play master of the universe. He forgot the first rule of finance. The loudest voice on the floor is the first one investigated. I'm not loud. I'm just compliant. And compliance isn't bureaucracy. Compliance is protection. Compliance is the thin beige line between order and chaos. I approved the operation. I locked the folder. I took another sip of espresso. Red tape isn't boring. It's the only thing keeping the financial monsters in their cages. And yesterday, I let one out just long enough to consume the idiot who tried to pick the lock. I think I'm going to like being the boss. Thanks for watching. You spreadsheet warriors. Hit that subscribe button. Unless you're my old boss, then you're currently being processed by federal authorities. Like, comment. Share with anyone who's ever been told their compliance concerns were just red tape. Share with anyone who's ever been dismissed as an obstacle to quarterly targets. Share with anyone who knows what it's like to be invisible until the moment invisibility becomes power. Because there are always more stories where this came from. And somewhere out there, another invisible compliance officer is watching, waiting, documenting everything. The ledger always balances eventually, even when management doesn't want it to, especially when management doesn't want it to.